science. Nous on fait de la science. Nous on travaille pour la science. Pour la science.
So, bonjour Max, or bonsoir Max.
So, hi Paul. Today, a special episode with someone new. So,
Episode 3, Max, episode 3. We're making a lot of progress here.
Yeah. The rhythm is something like one episode every year. So
Yeah, almost.
Yeah. So today we will be joined by Sophia. Sophia, I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce your name. So I don't know whether you want to state your name first.
Yeah, I can. Hello, good evening, everyone. So, Sophia Mosso.
Okay.
That's my name.
And Sophia is working at the VU in molecular toxicology, and she's an expert in what are you an expert in?
I'm an expert on nothing, I guess. But yeah, I like metabolism. So this is probably
Not
thing
drug
that
metabolism, not drug metabolism, cellular metabolism, right?
Yeah, cellular metabolism,
Okay.
yes.
And then we're also joined. This is the first time we have guests, so that's nice. So we have another guest, and this is Mr. Sam McCabe. Say hello, Sam.
Hello, everybody.
And Sam McCabe, I've talked about him in the jingle, that episode 0. Sam made the jingle, so he's a clever boy. Okay, Max, maybe you or Sophia, how do we start this? So our episode 3 today is about fermentation and the use of alcohol by sapiens.
Yeah, not only, but we'll see.
No, but that was the title of the episode.
I know.
You could use ethanol by other organisms too, of course.
Yeah. Because, I was still having in mind that, so Paul is currently recording it from his home in Amsterdam. I am currently in French. Sophia is also in Amsterdam, but in a different location.
Yeah.
And from where Paul is standing, from time to time, you can hear some birds eating his windows. And the theory behind it is that Paul is assuming the birds are drunk. Yeah. And he might be right.
They're starlings, by the way, and it's only twice a year when the tree outside has fermentation on these big fruits it produces.
Yeah. So exactly. So that's actually the theory behind it is the birds might get drunk a few times a year by eating those berries. And that's basically the topic is there. Where is alcohol coming from? And how can we explain it to people? That would be our challenge for today.
Okay, so who knows where alcohol came from? I mean, how did humans discover alcohol?
Yeah, that's the point. I don't know. We know how it was discovered. Kind of how did human made to the realization that there was alcohol there? But probably we know more about the people who kind of explain it. But the discovery of it, I doubt we have any recording of that.
Well, I said in my 3-hour lecture that the difference between sapiens or hominids than any other species is that we can pass on information quicker than our genetic mutations. So if starlings can figure out how to get drunk, I'm pretty sure any animal can figure that out. So we probably always had ethanol.
Yeah, the related question is, I guess starling, I'm not sure they do it on purpose. I'm not sure your birds aim to get drunk.
We're gonna discuss this again. No, it's Paracelsus. The dose makes a toxin. They were after the ethanol, which is a big source of energy, but they drank too much.
Or they just came across by accident, wasn't it? I mean, it can also be that there was something that then got spoiled, right? So that then ethanol was formed, and then they realized that actually, it had a different taste and actually could make you feel a little bit different than normal. So maybe this is how they found it out.
Yeah, I guess. And because, we were originally hunters and gatherers before we became predominantly meat eaters. And so you had the fruit back at your house, and you threw the bad fruit away, which was fungus. So even now, if you see a fungus on a fruit, you don't want to eat it.
Yeah, but I found some reference, related to wine making, that there are references or I don't know exactly what type of evidence they collected, but they mentioned that it's since the Neolithic. So it is really long time ago.
Yeah, but that's a specialization. So fermentation of ethanol was specialized by sapiens into so many things: wine, uh, whiskey, beer. What else is is cheese fermented? It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also fermentation and then bread, I guess. So when all of these things started to be made, and I guess things was, I think probably people started to make these foods even before fully understanding what was going on, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're still only learning about the metabolism of some of these things. I mean, I can talk about that, but it's pretty new knowledge how all of this is metabolized by the liver.
So should we try to explain to people with no concept around it what is ethanol and where it comes from?
Should I say the bad effects first, maybe? What it does to your body?
Yeah.
So, because I was looking. I mean, everybody knows this.
Only the one who get drunk, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you got the hangover. I can explain that. I can explain that molecularly, but it might be a bit boring. But the things that you get, it increases your blood pressure because it's a vasodilator. So all your blood vessels are open, and that what makes you have a warm feeling. And being warm is a nice feeling, so it might add to the euphoria. But if you drink too much, or even just one night, you're tired the next day because it interferes with the REM as part of your sleeping. So even if you slept like 8 hours, you're still tired the next day because you didn't have enough REM. So it's basically you slept too deeply, basically, because ethanol has a kind of a how do you say anesthetic effect on the brain. You have memory loss that might be associated with that. So as far as I understand, I'm not an anesthesiologist at all, but it changes the membrane slightly. It affects the membranes of the neurons or wherever it is. And I guess the synapses don't fix properly. So you don't remember what you said sometimes the night before. In Ireland, we call that the fear because sometimes you're afraid what you said was bad. And the next thing I had was mind fog, but that comes together. I found, I didn't read the papers, but it's supposed to have effects on men and reduce the testosterone of men.
The long term, right?
Yeah. And I mean, maybe anecdotally, you can see men that drink a lot. I mean, men seem to be big drinkers of alcohol. They have big fat bellies and they sometimes start to grow breasts. So that might be simply a decrease in testosterone because it's toxic to the area where testosterone is produced.
But not the big belly, right? I mean, do you know why the big belly?
No, I didn't mean to be sexist there. I have to go back. No, you're right. The big belly is just too much energy, and men have harder bellies, I guess. When you're acutely drunk, you crave fat. And I don't know, Sophia might help me out here because you have, I think, and Sophia will correct me, I think it's because ethanol is a source of energy, but a glycolytic one. And then the body is searching for the opposite because it needs both. So you crave fat. Sophia, what do you think?
Is it described as such?
Well, no, but I just...
My personal experiments tend to contradict that. I'm not craving for fat when I'm...
well, it depends. I guess it depends on what you drink as well. Because in Ireland we drink mostly beer and Guinness, and you see people flooding the streets to get kebabs, which are just fat. Sophia, maybe you come in with your.
I actually didn't look exactly up, what this could be. I just think that like Dutch cuisine is absolutely adapted for this because they have like this love for fried food. Yeah. So this is really like fitting well.
But if you think about it, I might get to the toxicology of it, but I heard in the toxicology of it, you have a decrease in NAD+, which is also a required energy source. And would the fat make the balance in the other direction? Well, Sophia's thinking about it, so it's not a completely stupid question, at least. So let me continue with the the toxic effects or the effects on the human physiology. Really long term, you can get depression. I guess it might be simply sleep deprivation. That's the most likely cause, or because you're worried that you said something wrong the night before and you can't remember. And then there's dehydration, and dehydration also makes you. So if you're sleep deprived and you're dehydrated, and you have too little NAD plus, I mean, it's not good for you. Oh, back to the fat thing. In Ireland, after a feed of drink, we call it, we always have a fry up in the morning, so fat, and it helps your hangover a bit. So the dehydration thing, I don't know. Well, yeah, I'll stop talking after this, right? So you need to pee a lot when you drink, against the fact that you're actually dehydrated, because all of the water leaves your kidney, and it's because of a thing that you can look up if you like, called aquaportin 2. That's there's a hormone coming from the brain that goes to your kidney, and it opens water channels in the lower part of the kidney. And alcohol prevents that hormone coming from your brain, so your body just thinks you're absolutely have too much water, and it just starts getting rid of all the water, and then you're dehydrated. But drinking water. So there's this idea for a cure that you would drink a beer and then drink water. That only works if the alcohol intake is less frequent. So it might slow you down, but if you drink water before you go to bed, when the hormone isn't there, you still just need to pee. So I think the drinking the water thing just slows the whole thing down. So in my opinion, and I guess the other two have other opinions, yeah, drink alcohol, but drink it slowly.
So what about? I think we won't address that stupid idea, because the hormone you refer to is ADH, right? Yeah,
it's antidiuretic hormone, or vasopressin, also called it.
So would it be that if you fuse that to, if you find a way of administrating people with ADH while they are having alcohol, then you would have an alcohol which would not generate any hangover?
No, it would still it would stop the dehydration, which is part of it. But you'd still have too much ethanol in your blood, which would affect your sleep and still decrease your NAD. So it wouldn't help. It would help one part of it. It wouldn't be the full answer.
Okay.
The real answer is don't drink too quickly or too much.
Oh, too much.
No, the real answer is don't drink.
No. I encourage people to drink. And frequently.
No, you cannot encourage people to drink.
I do. As long as they're of legal age. And they don't have...
That's not the point. It's not because it's legal that it's good. It makes no sense.
Well, we'll discuss this later. So go on.
A lot of things are legal and still are not good to do.
Yeah, well, if something's legal, you should do it. It wasn't always legal. Remember prohibition in the 20s? What was the reason for that? Does anybody know? I don't know.
The reason was that alcohol was bad for health.
They were wrong.
Hasn't changed.
Hasn't changed.
They were wrong. I'll explain why later. I talk too much. You too talk.
No, they were not wrong. The difference is that, we would still, as a society, consume something, and probably alcohol, and that's what happened during the prohibition. People found ways of making it themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, they even drank more, actually.
Yeah, and bad quality then.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that was also a big issue, right? I mean, this bad quality wine and so on, that then indeed leads to even worse medical conditions than only the alcohol.
That's actually one topic that we haven't previously listed as one of interest, which is methanol intoxication.
Yeah.
One famous example of that is that, in French we say absinthe. I guess the English pronounce it slightly different.
Yeah, it's the same. It's absinthe. Yeah.
And it was actually banned in France for a pretty long time, actually. And it has a very bad reputation of turning people completely full. And probably the reason for that was that absinthe was actually a very bad process of production, which resulted in methanol intoxication because of the presence of methanol in the end products.
Do you know the cure for methanol intoxication?
Yeah, I know. Sophia, that's your turn. Do you know the cure? Because I do.
Yeah, ethanol.
Yeah.
So it's also a cure. What do they call that when you get poison, then you get a cure? What's it called? Antidote. It's an antidote.
Yeah.
No, but I guess that's mainly the reason why absinthe was then forbidden in France. People were turning crazy, and we have so many famous poets and things like that.
Yes, I mean, exactly. And I think this was also, I think, a time in history, because also in Portugal, you had a lot of, now very famous writers that were drinking a lot of absinthe and then writing lovely books. And now people do not know if some of the lovely books were a little bit the effect of the absinthe or not.
But isn't there originally there was a psychoactive compound in absinthe?
I don't know that.
Yeah, look it up. And I don't know if they took it out on purpose, but I was in a bar recently and they had absinthe, and I said, why is that back? Have you taken out this psychoactive compound? And they said, well, the modern day absinthe has it in still, but it's so low concentration, that you could drink a whole bottle and you wouldn't feel it. So my thinking is that they all drank absinthe all these guys. They were writing the poems and stuff. I guess it increased their brain activity a bit. Whatever the psychoactive compound is, Max is searching for it. Did you find it?
Yeah.
It's artemisinin or not?
Wait, too fast.
Oh, yeah, just a little tiny bit.
But this issue of bad fermentation was also a very big problem for wine. And I think this was also one of the reasons where they started to have checks and quality control of wine to make sure they didn't have.
Sophia, I have a question for you, the expert in these kind of processes. Is there any way? Wait, just a second, Max. Is there any way methanol can come out of fermentation?
Yes, I mean it can come out of bad fermentation.
So
or you just if you just ferment further, or I think at higher temperature, then you can have the risk of having methanol formation. Because I think this was the issue with the wine, because you can get faster fermentation if you increase the temperature. So then you can produce faster, but then you can start to produce things that are actually quite bad and other, because of course other compounds, not only ethanol, are produced upon fermentation.
Right, because there was this case in Austria. I can't remember exactly when, after the war, the Second World War. This guy was producing it was either wine or something like that, and everybody who drank it went blind. I think he was prosecuted, but they suspected he put methanol in it deliberately. And I thought he did too, but you explained that if you over process
it can, yes. Yeah. But you can imagine also that, for example, another way that they used to speed up wine fermentation was to add ethanol already.
Oh yeah.
And then in that way you also start, producing methanol at some point.
And is methanol toxic to yeast as well? I guess so, right? Well, we should have said, listeners, that yeast are experts in all of this. So it's yeast who makes the ethanol, even for us still. So there's three branches of life. Oh no, there's three branches of eukaryotic life. That's fungi, Sam. Animals and
bacteria.
No, that's prokaryote. Plants. Have you heard of them? Smoke enough of them. Fungi yeast are a part of the fungal branch of life. And they exist on the coatings of all fruit, and they're in the air. Actually, Sophia, you were going to say something about sourdough, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean they are in various places, and you can have. I mean, so ethanol is produced through fermentation, but also other compounds can be produced through fermentation. like lactate. So you have these lactic acid bacteria. So these are the ones that, for example, help to make yogurt.
That's
So
interesting,
this is-
Sophia, because I haven't been, if I drink a lot, not all the time, and especially when I was running, if I drank a lot, I'd wake up in the middle of the night with a cramp in my leg. And that was probably adding lactate to already an issue.
Yeah. So, and it also happens, what you're mentioning, it can happen in the muscle, right? So
Yeah,
you can have
it was
like
in the muscle. Yeah, it was a muscle.
lactate production. So this is also possible. And then you also have like fermentation that produces acetic acid. And then you can think of, for example, wine vinegar production. So then you have acetate or kombucha, so that's very fashionable right now. So
Is that a
also
Portuguese one? A Brazilian one, isn't it?
I have no idea. I mean, when I went to the US, it's super fashionable kombucha. All the cool kids are drinking kombucha.
Max, did you find out the active ingredient?
Yeah, I look it up and I found a pretty interesting study, actually. What they did was to analyze that they were looking for the exact same question as ourselves. There is something that is even called absenteeism, which is a syndrome that people would experience after too much consumption as absinthe. And what they did was to collect bottles pre-ban. So they even found bottles of absinthe dating from 1805. Right. So they started looking into that. They collected something like 100 of them and looked for any possible contaminants or compounds into it. And it turns out there was nothing, just ethanol and a few normal compounds. No arsenic, no opium, no whatever.
So it's a myth.
So it's a myth. Their conclusion is basically it's just that absinthe is a strong alcohol. Most of them are something around 80%. And if you drink too much of an 80% booze, basically you start really experiencing the
hallucinations.
The hallucination and also the side effects.
It's funny. I wanted to mention this as well. So Irish are pretty known for drinking, and I don't mean to be racist or anything, but it's true. I'm Irish myself. Many Irish people drink frequently, and there's a lot of alcoholism in Ireland as well, which is sad. But it's really rooted in the Celtic traditions. So the word for whiskey is Ishkabaha. And Ishkabaha, translated loosely, means the water of life. And when we cheers to you, so when we touch glasses, there's another story behind that one. We say sláinte, and it means health. And maybe
we do the same. We say health as well.
No, but we say it specifically when we touch glasses, and maybe it means a bit don't drink too much.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's wrong. That's actually wrong.
Okay, it was just brain fart. Tell me what it means.
No, but we have the same as well.
Yeah, the assumption around this, the clicking glass, the assumption around it is that people tend to poison themselves quite heavily at that time.
I know that. Yeah. Well, you didn't explain that long enough. So the clicking of the glass. I'm going to make the sound now because Sam is drinking a glass of wine with me. He never drinks wine. It was because when lords or warriors or the heads of an army would meet each other, they would click the jugs. They didn't have glasses then, and the jugs would be overflowing with the whatever they had, mead probably, and it would spill into each other. So it was a sign of trust that they wouldn't poison each other.
Yeah, exactly. It was actually done on purpose. The idea was to prevent any of the two to poison the other. So basically, initially, it's reported that they were kind of mixing the glass and the drinks.
But that's
so
what
that any of the two would basically it's you both die or none of us die. And from that era, what we kept was the idea of clicking glass. And then it's I guess the association with health is related to that.
You said I was wrong. It's exactly what I said.
No, that's what you said here. But it's kind of it's not related. I guess the idea of saying sláinte or health at the time you click is associated to rather the fact that I'm not poisoning you, so I'm wishing you good health.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's funny to hear a Frenchman say slanchy. He said it perfectly.
Yeah.
But if we go one step back, you know what you mentioned, Paul, about the water of life. I think we also have this. So Max, in France, you have this eau de vie. So we also have something equivalent to that in Portuguese. But then in our case, I guess in yours as well, it's the most alcoholic part from the wine fermentation, right? So then you get like high, like a liquor, right?
Yeah. It's actually the way we define any kind of liquor, and they can come from any type of fruits that you think about. I don't exactly know what vodka means and whether it is associated to that, but I know aquavit is the way they call very strong alcohol, also vodka, in Nordic countries.
Yeah, vodka is made from fermented potatoes.
Yeah, but does vodka has any meaning, the term itself?
Yeah, maybe it means
it means water.
Oh, okay. Water.
Or little water, something like that. I mean, we might check actually this.
Yeah, well, Max, you can look it up. So Ishkabaha in Celtic is... and the Russians, some of the Russians come from Vikings, and the Vikings and the Celts were great friends and enemies. The Vikings settled Dublin. So maybe the word Ishkabaha and vodka are exactly the same, just in two different languages. Max is
you're right. Vodka means little water.
Little water.
Yeah. That's what I found on the Irish Time website.
Do you know that might be a poor translation, because it should be life water.
Yeah,
it might have been a bad translation from Celtic to Russian.
Yeah, it might be.
Stupid Vikings. Huh? Okay, what do we talk about next?
Yeah, I just realized that before starting our recording, we listed a few things, and when it comes to effects of alcohol, there is also very strong effects of alcohol withdrawal. Actually, withdrawing someone from alcohol is one of the worst things you can do. And
I didn't understand what you said, Max. Drewing. What?
Withdrawal. When someone
alcohol withdrawal. So when you drink for a long time and then you have to stop.
Yeah. Because it's kind of typical in France, and in where I live in the north, we also have very strong habits of making use of alcohol. So it's quite popular that anytime you have someone going to an hospital and having to stay for some time, then we have to ask him whether he's used to drink alcohol. Because people which are having a high alcohol consumption, if you start preventing them from having it, they're going to experience very severe withdrawal. Is it correct?
It's a bit longer. So withdrawal.
Yeah. Withdrawal. Okay. Anyway,
but Max, it's funny you say that, because I watched a YouTube video this morning to prepare for this, and this guy was talking about all the ill effects of alcohol, and he's a kind of an influencer guy. He looked like a smart guy, and he's taken 30 days off alcohol, which is a really good recommendation. He didn't stop it; he just 30 days off, and he found himself eating more sweets. Because he's a smart guy, so he was trying to figure out what do I need, and it not scientifically, just what he was craving. And I wonder, is that just the same energy replacement source? And should you give people who are on alcoholics, when they're withdrawing, lots of sugar, basically?
No. You have to give them ethanol. So because the severe form of it, the severe form of alcohol withdrawal is that you experience something called the Korsakoff syndrome. Korsakoff syndrome is actually some deterioration of your neurological functions, which is irreversible. And it's provoked by the severe and brutal withdrawal of alcohol to someone which is used to a very high and long-term consumption. So you cannot just stop from one day to the next, of course, if you are having a high consumption, because you are exposing yourself to really neurological damage, which are irreversible. So that's why we have this cautionary. Anytime someone is pumping in to the hospital, you need to know, because in case he would be used to alcohol, then you have to supplement him slowly with some ethanol so that he would not experience that.
Yeah. But how do you do that in the hospital setting? You give him a beer or
drip.
IV.
Yeah, IV.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
No, just on a small side. That's what they do that's a recommended treatment if allowed in the country for heroin addiction. And I heard a case in Innsbruck once that a baby had to be injected with heroin because methadone is a completely different compound. But Max, there's two different things here. What you're saying. So you're talking about the neurological effects. So that's really chronic alcoholism, where probably the membranes, they need it. They've got used to it. But then there's the other thing where you're not an alcoholic. You just drink a lot and frequently, and you're using ethanol as an energy source. And if you want to get off alcohol for a month, then just eat more sugar. So they're two separate things.
Yeah. So on this last thing, I think there is also, when people, for example, stop smoking, then they start chewing gum. I think maybe there is like you are used to drinking quite frequently, so then maybe you feel like eating or drinking something else, something like that also has to do with the behavior or the habit of it.
But Sophia, you're an expert in NAD. How do you say NAD in a longer way?
Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide.
Right. So everybody will understand the first word, nicotine. So most people are, well, not anymore, but about 10, 15 years ago, most people who drank always smoked. Can you think of any metabolic condition why? Because NAD plus, as we said, okay, this is a bit complicated for people, I understand, but ethanol ends up by reducing NAD in these things called mitochondria that's in all of your cells except red blood cells. Is there any way that giving nicotine would increase the NAD?
The pathway towards NAD is not the same as the pathway from nicotine towards event. So you have other precursors that increase your NAD, and
the question, Sophia, is
none of them are nicotine. Okay.
No, but the question is, why do people drink? Why do people who drink often smoke, or at least used to? Is there any way that nicotine can be converted some way back in the cell to help the NAD plus come back?
I don't know about the biochemistry of that. I don't know, but I think it can also be a behavior thing.
Oh, no, it's certainly a behavioral thing. I mean, that's
right.
But behavioral things are usually things that are good for you. Your body is trying to tell you. 3.5 billion years of evolution is trying to tell you to do something. It's just when you do it too much, again, back to Paracelsus. So yeah. I wonder maybe nicotine somehow, maybe very complicatedly, helps the NAD plus come back. Anyway.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, right? I mean, this would be
it seems to be a real synergism between smoking and drinking.
I mean, surely, chemically, they come from, the same backbone, isn't it? It's all very similar.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We had the last podcast on cells and what makes up cells and stuff like that. And and then we never really got into the chemistry of cells, but that's for maybe another podcast, or maybe that's even too complicated. Max, back to you, buddy.
Yeah, I just realized I confused myself with the Korsakoff syndrome. It's not Korsakoff. The severe symptoms of deprivation is delirium tremens, which is actually the name of a brewery in Belgium.
It's also the name. It's also the name of a very good Chrissy Moore song. Yeah. There was an ad at the time where this guy was drinking Guinness on a surfboard, and he said, "I could never understand how that guy got up on a surfboard after 20 pints of stout." And the song was called Delirium Tremors.
Yeah. So that's actually what you experience if you withdraw someone from alcohol very suddenly. Whereas Korsakoff is that's the extreme opposite, is when you intoxicate someone pretty high, and that's the neurological damage which are provoked by alcohol in that case.
It's nice you mentioned that, because there's a guy called Martin Cahill. He was a criminal, one of the top criminals in Ireland in the 70s and 80s. His code name, or the common name, was the General. And basically, if anybody got in his way, he'd murder them or blackmail them or whatever. Ruthless man. There's been several films made about him. And he would kill people that he didn't like by getting them absolutely drunk in public and then going and having a few drinks back in his own private bar somewhere, and then feed them with ethanol, and then leave them outside on a cold night, take all their clothes off or some of their clothes off, and because of vasodilation, they would die of hypothermia, and there was no crime because people saw the guy drinking. He was drunk. No crime. He didn't do anything. He just got the guy drunk, and he didn't even get the guy drunk. The guy got himself drunk.
That's sophisticated, I think.
Yeah, he was very well. He made a big mistake in the end, but he pissed off too many people, and he got popped. Well, actually, now that I say that, where he got popped was around the corner from a pub that I used to work in called the Portobello. It used to be a good pub. If you're listening, Portobello, it's no longer a good pub. Don't go there anymore. But it was great, and I worked there for 15 years, so I know a lot about people's intoxication of ethanol.
Yeah. And just to keep on with this idea that based on the risk associated to withdrawing people from alcohol quite suddenly, my mom used to be a nurse and she's retired now, but then the typical question was then to ask people whether they are used to drink alcohol, to which most people say no. But then in my region, people are very addicted to beer, and to a degree where beer is no longer considered to be alcohol. So then the follow-up question was, and what about beer? And then some of them simply tend to say, oh yeah, I'm drinking quite a lot of them. Sometimes something like 50 small cans a day, which then would turn to be being completely an alcoholic, but not assuming to be one, because for them, beer was not simply alcohol.
Now, I actually found this. So you can metabolize, or the average person can metabolize 7 grams of ethanol per hour. So
that's a lot.
Well, it's the average. Yeah, you can metabolize it quite well. Something else to add to that. What was it? I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
And is it that alcohol drink, are they kind of glucose rich, or are they just
I think it depends.
Energy rich because of the alcohol itself?
I think it depends, because we like the flavor as well, and there must be sugar in that as well.
Yeah.
So in America, when they have all these light beers, so they're reduced calories, but not reduced alcohol. Yeah. So and it tastes like shit. I mean, there's this joke, and I better not say it. I get sued, so forget it. I wanted to say, shit, I had it in my head. Oh yeah, in London at some stage, I don't know when it was, 1700s or something like that, the water quality was so bad, everybody drank beer. I mean, babies, adults, old people, for a period of a few years. But the percentage of alcohol in the beer was like 2%.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this was the case, I think, in the Middle Ages everywhere. I mean, because the water quality was so bad and you could not trust it. So then people were just drinking all the time.
I only looked this up this morning, so I'm not trying to be arrogant. So I just find it interesting. So does any of you know why, if you drink a lot of alcohol, you're more immune to it?
Immune to alcohol?
Yeah, or you're more resistant to the effects of ethanol.
The kind of popular rumor is that you need to train your liver.
Yes, that's exactly true. I'm talking more about the molecular effects.
Yeah.
Which enzyme is induced?
I guess some SIPs, but which one exactly? Or alcohol dehydrogenase or anything like that? I didn't really want to go through this in detail, but now we're talking about it. So ethanol is metabolized by an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase to a compound that's called acetaldehyde. Okay.
And acetaldehyde is eventually converted to acetyl-CoA, which you need as an energy source. And that's 90% of the metabolism. So if you drink slowly, that's the good route, right? But if you drink too fast or drink too much, the other 10% kicks in, and that's by a compound called CYP2E1, not a compound, an enzyme called CYP2E1, which is inducible. So alcohol dehydrogenase is not inducible, and CYP2E1 is inducible. Alcohol dehydrogenase, I think, I'm not sure if it's in the mitochondria beside so anyway, it doesn't matter. But CYP2E1 is in the ER, sitting there, huge surface area, ready to consume it, and it can split it. So it makes aldehyde again, and it also CYP2E1 can also metabolize acetaldehyde. So wait, I said that wrong. Ethanol is converted to acetaldehyde by CYP2E1, and CYP2E1 and this other enzyme, aldehyde dehydrogenase, can metabolize it to acetate, and sometimes these are rejoined again to be acetyl-CoA. So if you drink a lot, you induce the CYP2E1.
Yeah, and because that's kind of your hobby, are you familiar with any of the pathway which potentially upregulate them?
Max, don't put me on the spot, and it's boring anyway. No, I can't remember. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely an ethanol binding receptor, PX or one of those ones.
Okay, that was a related question. Do you
know? Or I don't know.
Okay. But there is one, right?
Well, I presume so. If it's inducible,
I don't know. I've never already recall anyone referring to it.
Yeah, but it could be ethanol or acetate or even acetaldehyde itself that is binding to it. So one of those things is binding to a nuclear receptor. There's many of them, and it's very complex, and I'm not that knowledgeable on it. But if you keep activating it, it induces itself. These ones have positive feedback loops.
Okay.
So how do you think it's going so far, Sam?
Yeah, most of it's gone over my head, but it's interesting to listen to.
Well, he's a clever boy, so we should slow it down a bit then.
They're long words there.
Yeah, no, don't read me notes. Listen to what I say. Sorry, every time I'm with a Dublin person, my accent becomes a lot more Dublin.
It's association.
And so, yeah, we listed a few of the things. So,
Asian
the question is trying to explain where the dizziness comes from, because it's quite, in particular when you go in the central district of Amsterdam, it's quite usual that you meet some people which are again moving from one side of the other side of the shoulder, depending on how much they had. And part of it can be explained, I guess. So that's the dizziness is actually associated to the inner ear, which is the way we actually have our stability form. And we have some kind of tiny sensors there. And these tiny sensors are into a specific fluid in our brain. And these fluids changes viscosity when you drink too much of alcohol. And because of that, then the movements are more pronounced than they are normally. And still your brain is receiving the same input and is adapting to an input which is then different.
So it increases the sensitivity of your balance?
No, your brain is still analyzing the information the same way. The problem is that it moves faster because of the viscosity being changed.
Oh, yeah.
And then you kind of overcompensate. And if you think about it, that's actually what you see. You see those people moving one side, and then suddenly they're going to crump and go faster on the other side. Because they overcompensate.
That's a micro game in Assassin's Creed Valhalla that you have to drink and then correct your imbalance. Here, Max, I'll tell you a story. I was out with a friend of mine. Oh, this is going back 20 years. A fellow from Cork, Morris Keenan. They called him Mossy. He worked in the Portobello with me as well. And he liked to drink Bacardi. And I hate the taste of Bacardi, to be honest. But I drank so much Guinness, I couldn't drink any more Guinness. And then he said, come on, have a Bacardi. And he didn't, at that time of night, it was like 1 o'clock. He didn't drink single Bacardis anymore. He was drinking double Bacardis with Coke. Oh, remind me about carbon dioxide and alcohol. So I got home eventually in a taxi, and I lay down on my bed beside. I share a bed with Robert Jennings. A room. I don't share a bed with Robert. A room. So poor Robert. I woke him up probably. And then about 4 o'clock in the morning, I think I was home around 2, but 4 o'clock in the morning, my whole brain started getting dizzy lying down. I was lying down, and way too much ethanol. Yeah. And all I could do is, because I couldn't stand up because I knew I would fall over. So I opened the window right beside me and vomited out everything that was in my gut. And then I slept soundly and nicely. And then about 8 o'clock in the morning, I heard this on my door, on the window. It was my dad. He was cutting the grass, and he saw the whole pile of vomit, and he said, "Clean that up. Clean that up after breakfast." And I said, "Yeah, Dad. Sure, sorry, Dad." Carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
So I heard that the gastric emptying is really important for the effects of ethanol on you. So the gastric emptying is triggered by the amount of, I think, mass volume somehow in your stomach. So it'll empty it when it feels it's full, and alcohol doesn't really do that. So that's why if you eat, it's better because it'll dump it back into the intestine. So ethanol itself cannot penetrate the stomach wall. The stomach is the first part after your esophagus, so it cannot penetrate it. But if there's but the thing is, there's nothing exactly not non-penetratable. So Max works on blood-brain barrier, so everything can get through. It's about the rate it gets through. So probably there's a little bit of ethanol getting through the stomach wall, but tiny amounts. But when you drink anything that is bicarbonated, carbonated, it increases the pressure in your stomach, so more ethanol goes through. So that's why champagne and all this kind of stuff make you drunk quicker, even though they have less ethanol.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Thank you. I think I deserve a round of applause for that one.
No, there is a rumor. I couldn't really look it up, but there is some kind of hearsay in the field of alcohol consumption. And a popular one where I live, we are in the north of France, a place where there used to be a lot of people working in the mines, and most of them were Polish. And those Polish have a reputation of being heavy drinker, but they also have this kind of trick. The trick being that you have this, what's the name of that? Small cucumbers. And these small cucumbers are full of fat, and they saturate it with fat. And the idea is that eating that would actually slow down the oral absorption of ethanol, meaning that then if you have that before going for heavy drinks, then it will slow down the assimilation of ethanol, preventing you from overdosing your ethanol, and then keeping you the ability of lasting longer during the party.
Yeah, that's also true. So the ethanol will go into the fat, and then you get slow release ethanol. But if you continue drinking, though, it'll overcome that, and you'll have the same effect.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that it can be proven and whether it has been studied enough. But it's still a very strong belief that these Polish cucumber are good before going for a party.
You said that the Polish are known to be heavy drinkers. Tell me one nation without religious.
No. The interesting part here is where it comes from for the French. The French kind of have a very famous say, which is "drunk as a Polish," and it's a
because you're racist.
No. Yeah, we are. But beside of that, the reason for this saying comes from Napoleon. So the Polish were actually part of Napoleon's army. Yeah. And the fact is that actually, there is some debate around the actual meaning of it. But then he stated to his whole army, you should be drunk, but drunk as a Polish. And the idea behind is that probably during one extreme battles, the French were actually too drunk to go on the battlefield, whereas the Polish were just drunk enough that they were more brave, and they just drink the right amount so that they would find the bravery of facing the opponents, whereas the French were just cowards in that case. So Napoleon then said, you should be drunk, but drunk as a Polish.
Oh, but that's interesting. So again, that's Paracelsus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the dose makes the poison. But why do you think ethanol increases bravery? Because this is definitely true. Because people fight more often.
Yeah, it's kind of one of its effects is to remove some inhibitions. So.
But how?
I don't recall. I look it up too quickly. There is explanation for that, but I should do more research.
No, we shouldn't, because if you do too much, then we need to know the capabilities of what we know as well.
That was,
Is it maybe something again to the memory loss and stuff like that it's changing the
no,
memory?
I don't think so.
So the fight. Okay, so I know a little bit about this. The fight and flight response is in the amygdala. So that's the very, very core of your brain, pointing downwards to your stomach, and that's all mammals have that, and even birds have a version of that. And alcohol, as we said, it gets into membranes. That's what it does. It's a pharmacological thing. And in the hypothalamus, that's where this vasopressin or antidiuretic hormone is no longer being secreted. So maybe it pushes us into I don't know. But then again, most people don't get angry when they drink. They're just easily triggered. They're easily triggered.
So there is also some part of it, because probably there is a part of it which is biologic, which I should definitely look up more deeply before saying stupid things. But what is also pretty well established is that actually being drunk is something that you can use as to pretend that you're going to do something that you wouldn't have done. And there is also the psychological part to say, in a normal behavior, I could not say, I said these stupid things because I was drunk. So then you're going to say it because you know you can kind of blame it on the alcohol.
Oh, yeah. Sure. But that's cultural. And
yeah. So you can always try, like making a move on a girl is something you can try. And then if it doesn't work, you can always say, I was just drunk.
I think it's more complex than that, though.
No, the fact is that it's something you blame.
I honestly remember when I was younger, because I had really bad acne. I was afraid to approach girls, and when I drank, I wasn't. And I mean, I don't mean being really drunk. I mean just a few drinks, and I had no cultural knowledge of this thing of hangovers and stuff. So it must somehow make you a little bit more confident in yourself. Okay, I guess we don't know why, but that doesn't matter. Next topic. You don't have any more? That's fine. But I have one more, and that's the Asian hot flush.
Okay.
Should I do that now?
Yeah.
So I looked it up. So I thought myself personally, not as a scientist, but just me, Paul Jennings, thought that a certain percentage of Asians, because they're known to get drunker quicker. And there's many reasons for that. They don't drink ethanol, so they don't have this increased CYP2E1. I'm always interested when I find out they have a gene issue, because that's proper evolution. So it basically, it's not anything. And I thought they didn't have alcohol dehydrogenase, but I think that's not even possible to be alive without alcohol dehydrogenase. That's not true. So what they're missing is a functional or a slower aldehyde dehydrogenase 2, and there's loads of aldehyde dehydrogenases. And again, this only matters when you drink too much. So if they drank, when Asian people or the people with this mutation, it's almost evolution, when they have this different gene. Then if you drink too much, then the metabolism of ethanol is slower. So you have more vasodilation, basically. So you still have more ethanol in your blood. No, that's not even true. I'll forget it. I'm getting confused. Next topic.
But still, did you figure out something besides being red on the face? Does that make them more sensitive to alcohol? Are they turning drunk more rapidly than others for same dose, same body weight?
It depends on your definition of drunk. So they will have more ethanol in their blood.
Okay. Because my personal experience of that was hosting some Japanese in my lab. And then we were having, as usual, a Friday celebration, which is just an excuse for having a few drinks. And after a few drinks, he just turned completely red. And I told myself, fuck, I alcohol poisoned one of my guests. And it turns out he was just turning red face, but he was still completely kind of logical.
But there's something else.
And he actually killed me much later on alcohol.
No, yeah, but there's another thing. So I knew a person from Austria, and she would get flushes in her face and on her arms and upper body, when she drank certain kinds of alcohol.
So then it's a kind of allergic reaction to alcohol?
Yeah, so I think that's a histamine reaction to something else, not ethanol itself. So there's, these things are complex. Because when you drink alcohol, it's not only ethanol. And actually, by the way, please, nobody ever drink only ethanol because you'll kill all the cells in your mouth and your esophagus.
And just because of what you just said, in France, it's now illegal to buy ethanol except if you have a kind of a prescription for it. So you can no longer already buy in the supermarket pure ethanol. And then the labs, such as mine, we do have possibilities of having ethanol. And for an obscure reason, every single labs I know, we are sticking to one which is called the bon goût, which means good taste. So every single biology lab in France tend to buy the ethanol, which is the good taste one. Because the idea is that because it's banned from buying it from the supermarket, then you can steal a bottle or two and bring it back home, and then you can mix it with some fruits and generate your own mix.
Yeah, but I'm worried about, because we talk about purity a lot, I'm worried about because it's only 96% ethanol. What's the 4%?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
you cannot, that's an
water,
azeotropic point. So you cannot get it higher than that.
Well, we can buy 100% ethanol for...
You cannot.
Oh,
the maximum is 96%, I think.
96?
Yeah.
But why wouldn't we buy the analytical grade ethanol? It says 100%.
It does not.
It does not. They're lying. Or it doesn't say it.
I don't think. I mean, when you have
say
a distillation, it's always the maximum you can get is 96, is what you call this azeotropic point.
So what's the 4%? What's
is
the other
water.
Water?
Yeah.
So Max, it's interesting. I went a bit. I was a bit depressed last year and stuff because of COVID and all sorts of other things. But I was at home isolated, and I started lighting fires everywhere. And my dad said, like wood fires. I don't have a fireplace. I lit them outside, and I don't have a garden. I lit them on balconies. So my neighbors were a bit pissed off. And my dad said, "Paul, can you try an ethanol fire? It's much safer." So actually, I have one on in the bar now. They're great. I recommend ethanol as a fire. You need some hubris for it as well, but as long as you have hubris and ethanol, it's great. And I could buy the highest grade ethanol as a private person in here in the Netherlands.
But it's how is it classified? It's like technical ethanol or.
It's 96%. I have it here. It says it's bioethanol, brandstof for my Dutch is terrible. Verharden, whatever that means.
So are you capable enough?
It's actually 96.6%.
Okay, but that's 96. This is what I told you. It's the azeotropic point. This is what they teach you in chemistry, Paul.
I didn't study chemistry. I did study chemistry, but I wasn't interested in it.
So does it say not drink, Paul?
Sorry?
Does it say it's not drink?
I'm not going to drink it. And why would I drink it? I go to...
No, I'm just curious to know whether it says do not drink.
Okay, look. No, it just says it's flammable, and I don't... there's no obvious signs to say don't drink. I guess on the you couldn't drink it. I mean, the smell of it, it's like, it's great. I mean, you physically couldn't drink it.
No, I made some experiment, and I once drink a vodka which was called Spiritus. Spiritus is a Polish vodka which is claimed to be one of the strongest alcohol in the world. It's actually 96%.
Drinking alcohol.
Yeah, drinking alcohol. And it's actually quite interesting to drink because your tasting bud gets anesthesia right away. So it's pretty interesting. So it's actually has no taste, but it's not only has no taste, it prevents you from any taste for a few seconds after you drink it.
Cormac Murphy told me this once that he took something like that in a lab, in a control lab environment, and they got them to eat a lemon.
Yeah, you couldn't feel.
For him, because it tasted him like an orange. He only had the sweet sensation.
Yeah,
he lost all the other ones. He lost the bitterness.
Yeah. Some of your tasting buds couldn't work anymore because of the too high alcohol.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting to experience, let's say.
Sophia, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you.
Let me find the jingle. 1 second. We should ask Sam. Sam, what did you think about the podcast? Was it interesting?
Yeah, it was very interesting. I learned that. Where is it here? What's this one?
SIP 2E1.
SIP 2E1 is on a loop and it creates itself or creates a need for itself or something along those lines.
It juices itself.
Itself. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So if that's what people get out of it, at least they learned a little bit about metabolism. Yeah. Okay, the jingle. So thank you very much, Sophia.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
That was a super input. Max, we should have guests more often because that works better.
Yeah. So who's our preferred guest for cocaine and morphine?
Probably Walter Faller.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Walter just recovering from a surgery, so if he's listening, I wish him well. Okay, the jingle. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
C'est demeure. Il parle de microscope. C'est demeure pote. Il parle de microscope. C'est demeure pote. Il parle de microscope. Ça parle de bactéries parce que c'est des grands amis. En tout cas, pour résumer ce qu'il faut savoir à cette lettre, la science, nous on fait de la science.